these two decks are doing the most powerful thing in their respective class.
Yeah.
There's some matchups, I'm sure, for Nihumans and Human Reanimator, where you feel like your opponent's not even there with you at the table because they aren't being able to either interact with you quickly enough or efficiently enough in the case of Nihumans, or in the case of the Human Reanimator deck, able to interact with you at all.
Yeah.
And, we've seen, we saw Brian on camera and Brad on camera playing this deck. Joseph's taking a mulligan here, where their opponents just were not, they weren't playing the same game,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, especially that point is exemplified by Brian's quarterfinal matchup against the 4-color tokens deck.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like his opponent wasn't even there.
Right. And I would say our semifinal match against the Experiment Jund deck was another good example of this.
Yeah.
I mean,
never really in real danger.
Yeah, the efficiency of Joseph's creatures in combat were so much better. And his opponent was playing with Flint Hoof Boars and Dreg Manglers. It wasn't like he was playing with bad creatures, but the Nihumans deck is just playing much better threats.
You do see Joseph taking a mulligan here. If you guys are just joining us, good morning to you. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan here in the booth at Star City Games Open Series in Atlanta. You can join the conversation with us as we will be giving away a full year of premium after this game. You can follow us on Twitter at SCG Live. Hashtag your tweets with SCGATL for Atlanta. Join in with us. We'll be here all day for you guys. It's early, but we're awake. Pat's got his coffee.
I've got coffee.
I've got my sarcasm. We can make it work.
Yeah. So
Joseph probably just aggressively mulliganing, right? Needs some sort of fast start.
I would have to say that you would need your sort of like more mopier hands of Huntmaster of the Fells and Avacyn's Pilgrim into something into Frontline Medic. Those kind of draws actually just might not cut it here. You need to be looking for Silverblade Paladin and Thalia.
Yeah.
Your Restoration Angel, those kind of fancy draws. It's not that kind of game.
Yeah, a little too slow here. Are we happier now? That's a no.
Contemplative.
Yeah. A head scratcher? No. That's a no. I've seen that before. I've also done that before.
Sure. I would say that, Joseph I think his best 5-card hands still have a real good shot here.
Yeah, I mean, he can have it as simple as three lands champion Thalia.
Yeah,
that's good enough.
Or Silverblade Paladin Thalia. Yeah, and those hands are definitely good enough to win.
Yeah.
He's got a couple aces, and he doesn't need that much mana to get him into play. So, of course, you don't want to be on 5 cards, but I would say if Mono Red was on 5 cards against Human Reanimator, it's really hard to win.
Yeah.
But Joseph has cards that are powerful enough to compensate for going down to 5 cards.
4 and 5.
And Joseph actually won on a 4-card hand in his quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm. I saw a Searing Spear amongst those 5 cards. This is going to keep Clifftop Retreat it is. We're underway here in the finals.
It looks like it's 2 Searing Spears and 2 Champion of the Parishes.
They're near Hearth Pilgrims.
Oh, near Hearth Pilgrim, sorry.
Now you're going to see a Farseek here from Brian. Yeah, he's got 2 Searing Spear, 2 near Hearth Pilgrims, and a Restoration Angel. And this is the fear, as you do see a Farseek here from Brian accelerating, can get the Huntmaster range, and if you're trying to think of a best case scenario, I mean, there's a start. So we do see a Cavern of Souls on Human, and now a near Hearth Pilgrim. But again, that card, it kind of needed to be Thalia there, but even if it is Thalia, Brian's already Farseek.
Yeah, it has to be
out of Thalia range.
It has to be turn 2. It's not like Thalia is good at any point.
Yeah. Brian going to take a draw here. Got a couple in Burial Rites in his hand. You see a Clifftop Retreat and a Sun Petal Grove in the front. See if he has a Huntmaster or any of his card manipulation here. You are just going to see a Fiend Hunter take care of the Pilgrim. That's one of the neat things about this deck that we saw earlier with Brad Nelson's match in round 1 of the tournament, and Brian when we had on camera, is that Fiend Hunter plays this nice role of, it's part of the infinite combo in the deck, but it also does a nice job of buying you time.
Fiend Hunter is just excellent against creature decks in general.
Yeah. Are you going to Searing Spear that? That's ideal.
Yeah.
You know, if you're Brian, you're just like, okay, perfect. And there's your Avacyn's Pilgrim. Joseph's just going to pass back. So you can see this mulligan to 5 really, really tough for him. And now we are going to see a mulch here from Brian. Woodland Cemetery, Cartel Aristocrat, Grizzly Salvage, and a second Grizzly Salvage. So not the best mulch in the world.
No.
Now we're going to see a Cartel Aristocrat. We see the Woodland Cemetery come in, and Brian will... Is he going to get in there for one? He is!
Wow.
The old Fiend Hunter beats.
The final insult.
Yeah. Yeah. Salt in the face.
So far ahead that we can do that?
Yep.
Brian, you don't have to do them like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be like that.
We're going to see Stomping Ground here from Joseph, coming to play untapped. Go down to 17. Taking a look at Nearhearth Pilgrim, 2 Searing Spears and a Restoration Angel in his hands. So lands are here, but his cards that are very good in the opening turns of the game have they just get worse as every turn goes on.
Yeah.
Champion of the Parish, worse as we go along. Thalia, worse as the game goes along. You do see Nearhearth Pilgrim here. Going to partner up with the Avacyn's Pilgrim. He's just going to pass the turn back.
Yeah, Joseph's aces are very time sensitive. They aren't aces the whole game.
Yeah. You see a second Cartel Aristocrat here from Brian. That effect on the stack.
Respond.
He's going to Searing Spear the Fiend Hunter. Now Brian going to contemplate some things very quickly here. Doesn't seem to mind all that much. Pilgrim's going to come back for Joseph. Nothing to soulbound with. And we'll just pass the turn. Selesnya Charm, the draw for Joseph this turn.
He has Restoration Angel and Searing Spear in his hand, I believe. Oh, sorry, it's a
Silverblade Paladin. So you're going to see that partnership there with the Nearhearth Pilgrim. And Pilgrim is just going to come across here. Does have double strike. Let's see this. And Brian looks happy to sacrifice to give the Aristocrat protection from white. It's going to take down the Pilgrim. The bond will be broken between that and the Silverblade. So Silverblade will be free to partner up with something else moving forward. You do see Brian draw a Stomping Ground for the turn. The question is, does he have anything going on over there?
I think he has an Burial Rites in hand, but no Angel, is my impression. But he's got a lot of time. I mean, he's not under too much pressure life total-wise.
Yeah, somehow still at 20. Oddly enough.
Oh, no. There, yeah. So, I mean, with then Burial Rites and Fiend Hunter, he actually has quite a bit of time to just...
Yeah, just kind of mess around a little bit. I mean, even right now, as Fiend Hunter takes care of the Silverblade Paladin, it happened to be a 1-3 versus a 2-1 and a 1-1. I mean, pretty relevant stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a Searing Spear over there for Joseph. So we'll see if Joseph's going to choose to pull the trigger on the Searing Spear on the Fiend Hunter. Problem is, of course, Searing Spirit now. Okay, on Burial Rites at next turn.
Yep.
Get it back. So, how great is the Searing Spear going to be? Doesn't seem to be very. So you're going to see a Temple Garden come to play untapped here for Joseph. Going to bring himself down to 15.
And that Cartel Aristocrat is, like, just actually pretty awesome for combat. I mean, Brian has a lot of control over the way that Joseph can attack here.
You are going to see attack with both creatures. Looks like we're going to see a Selesnya Charm here. So you're going to see a Selesnya Charm and the Nearhearth Pilgrim.
I guess the plan here is to induce the Aristocrat to sack and then Searing Spear in response.
And the thing is that the Aristocrat has no reason to sacrifice. It's a 2/2 versus a 1/1. So if it's
Well, you still get the Searing. You get the Searing Spear if there's no other creatures in play.
that's fair. Yeah, that's completely fair. So there will be some lifelink happening here because those two guys are partnered up. Some small trades, some clearing up of the board. Pilgrim is going to stay tapped.
Yep.
Silverblade's going to come back here and just pass the turn back, so no reason to spear right now, as he can save the spear for the Fiend Hunter on the second go-around.
Yeah. But I believe Brian has another copy of Unburial
does.
Rights in his hand, so it's just, especially when, on a mulligan to 5 with no real pressure, it's just, these Unburial Rights are just impossible to slog through.
He's going to hard cast the Unburial Rights in his hand, because I think he'd rather have that one in the graveyard just because it's cheaper.
Yeah, I think he was weighing, is it worth Joseph knowing that I have another Burial Rights, but Joseph's so low on resources that you might as well be efficient. It's not going to change really Joseph's play at all because he has no resources to work with, so whatever.
So now you're going to see a Searing Spear here on the Fiend Hunter. And so what this is going to do, that's going to die. Okay, sacrifice that, give it protection from white. So Silverblade, partnering up here, won't be able to actually jump in front of the Cartel Aristocrat.
Yep. We're going to get to make an attack here.
Yeah, I'm going to finally be able to deal him some damage. In comes the Silverblade Paladin and the Nearhearth Pilgrim. This is going to be an attack for 8. And Joseph will gain 8 life. But again, with Fiend Hunter and Unburial Rights looming in the graveyard, the perfect draw for Joseph this turn would be Restoration Angel.
Yeah, I think his draw was a forest, but he's only down to the one. He's only got one Searing Spear left in hand.
Now we're going to see Unburial Rights going to target the Silverblade Paladin.
And I think Brian's wondering if he wants to stack the trigger and sack to the Aristocrat, which I think is what he's doing. He doesn't want to have to play around removal anymore.
Yep.
He just wants to. He's willing to give up a little bit of value on the board just to make sure that he doesn't lose the Fiend Hunter.
Yeah. And with the second Unburial Rights in the graveyard, if anything goes wrong, he can just do it again.
Yep.
Which you're going to see here. And now here comes the Aristocrat, knocking Joseph down to 24.
Yeah, and Brian can be confident there that the draw wasn't really Restoration Angel because you probably would have seen it at some point during that sequencing.
So now you see Joseph play a forest. Last card in his hand is Cavern of Souls, so he is starting to draw a few too many lands. And obviously Brian's board position isn't great, but when you're ahead, you're ahead.
And he's got a ton of powerful draws. He's got any of his, and there's one of them right there.
That might be his best draw in this situation, as it lets him see the most cards for the least amount of mana. So Grizzly Savage is going to turn over a Fiend Hunter, a Stomping Ground, a Huntmaster of the Fells, a Stomping Ground, and a Godless Shrine. Huntmaster is the easy take for Brian. Put the rest of those guys into the graveyard. And now his clock has been accelerated quite a bit.
Yep. And Joseph has no spells in hand, so that Huntmaster might flip too.
Yeah. I mean, the tough part is obviously he has no spells in hand, but Brian can control it as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear that Joseph does not have a spell in his hand right now. He's going to draw a card. Actually draws his own Huntmaster. But if you're familiar with the interactions when Huntmasters are in play, Brian being the active player right now, his Huntmaster's going to come in. All this favors him, so he can simply untap, draw, and pass the turn back. And his Ravager of the Fells will kill Joseph's Huntmaster before it actually gets to do anything. Assuming that Brian wants to make that play. Because you're going to see the Wolf token come across. You can tell as Brian is one of the designers of that Naya Humans deck that SCG Blue did play at Pro Tour Barcelona. Very familiar with this interaction as he passed the turn back very quickly. Restoration Angel, the draw step for Joseph this turn. And you're going to see an Angel of Glories rise. And if it wasn't over before,
Yeah.
I
Which it
think
was.
Yeah, I think it is now. So we're gonna see the quote-unquote combo begin to take place here. I think Brian's gonna stack all of his triggers, let Joseph know exactly what's going on. You know, I'm gonna eat this, it's gonna come back, all of those fun things. And Joseph is going to pack it up. Gonna be down a game here as Braun Duin with Human Reanimator defeats Joseph on his mulligan to 5, playing Naya Humans.
Yep.
As we are going to cut back to the booth here for you guys in just a second, because it is time to give away a full year of premium. And very simply, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to tweet your answer at us, hashtag SCG Premium. And the question is, in Braun Duin's deck, this Human Reanimator deck, a deck that previously needed to play Falconwrath Aristocrat at the Block Constructed Pro Tour in Barcelona for a sacrifice outlet, a very inconvenient splash. No longer does it need to do that, as a human has been printed for 2 mana that allows a sacrifice outlet for the deck. Conveniently comes back with Angel of Glory's Rise. If you're able to name that new human that is a sacrifice outlet for this deck, please do tweet the answer with hashtag SCG Premium. We will select one winner, and that winner will win 12 months of premium.
Helpful hint, it has the same profession as Falconwrath Aristocrat.
It does. It does.
They are in the same line of work.
They do the same thing. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Softball? That's a pretty easy one. Wiffle ball, maybe?
I mean, the initial question, I think your initial question was actually like medium difficulty.
Okay.
But with the clue, then I think it becomes
yes.
a softball.
The clue. Make it a little bit easier for you guys. But we are going to cut back to the match here and go over the sideboarding for you as Joseph, down a game here. He does have 2 copies of Rest in Peace. Those are the big ones. Taking a look at the other things that he can do, there are a ton. He does have a copy of Zealous Conscripts that maybe he can catch Brian off guard with. He does have 2 copies of Boros Charm for a little bit of reach. Pillar of Flame, not going to be particularly good. Centaur Healer, not very good. Fiend Hunter, not so much. Garrick Relentless, 2 copies of Oblivion Ring and a Rave Revelation. A lot of cards that aren't particularly good here, kind of good across the format, you know, depending on what you want to play against in this open tournament we had about 500 people at. But you do see 2 Rest in Peace, and I believe 2 Boros Charm, and maybe that Zealous Conscripts come in, but that's just about it.
Well, I actually think the Fiend Hunter might be halfway decent because Brian doesn't have spot removal in his deck, so he might want to just like have a Fiend Hunter for Fiend Hunter fights. I don't know how many slots in his deck that he wants to cut. I think Huntmaster of the Fells is super stinky,
Yep.
and the Pilgrim's not good either.
Yep.
So I would assume those cards are easy cuts, and I think one Fiend Hunter's okay. I wouldn't want a bunch of them,
Sure.
but when Brian's main way of stabilizing the game is with his own Fiend Hunters, I don't think one costs you that much.
Okay, makes sense. Again, not a ton of cards. I think you know, his aces, as you put it,
Yeah.
they've increased a little bit here with the 3 thighs and now the 2 Rest in Peace.
Yep. On the other side, I mean, Brian's got his 3 copies of Rare Revelation that he's probably going to want to fight over Rest in Peace. And he may want his additional copies of Cathedral Sanctifier to just slow the beatdowns.
Yep.
But Appetite for Brains is not good here. I don't think he wants Slaughter Games, no Purify the Grave. So it's pretty much those cards.
So again, with Brian's deck and this Human Reanimator deck, and we've seen this with Bad Hexproof as well, both these decks are engine decks. You know, they're well-oiled machines that you can't really dilute very much with a lot of sideboard options, which is why you do see a lot of 4s and 3s in Brian's sideboard. And you know, Rave Revelation is a card that he can bring in. Conveniently does have flashback with, you know, his card manipulation effects of Faithless Looting, Grizzly Salvage, and Mulch. But again, it's a deck that, you know, I feel like you're going to be shaving more than anything, as he does have all 4 ofs and then the 1 Cathedral Sanctifier in his main deck.
Right. No, it's and again, the question that I always have is how much do you want to lean on Unburial Rites once you're aware of the presence of Graveyard Heat in your opponent's side. We saw Brian play a match earlier yesterday where we're almost positive he cut his Unburial Rites entirely against a blue-white red flash deck.
Yeah.
Because of the threat of Rest in Peace and Purify the Grave and such. So I don't know if 2 Rest in Peace are enough for him to get off that plan, because he's not playing against Permission. I mean, Unburial Rites is a pretty attractive plan against decks without counterspells, even if you have to slog through some number of Rest in Pieces. But I don't know if he feels his matchup's just good enough where he can get off of that and just kind of have his deck be just like straight engine and actually plan on hard casting Angel at some point.
Sure. Either way, this game, Joseph, step 1 is not taking a mulligan 5. Step 2, You gotta get off to that aggressive start, my friend.
Yeah, it's also possible when Brian's on the draw that he just wants to de-emphasize his spells in general because of the threat of Thalia.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Maybe it's different sideboarding if you're on the play or on the draw, because when you're on the play, you can get out in front with your Farseeks and Mulches and Grizzly Salvages and all that kind of stuff, because you would get to cast at least one of them on your second turn, and if that spell is Farseek, then Thalia matters much less.
Yeah.
But when you're on the draw, Thalia is so much more threatening that you may have to hedge a little bit there.
Yeah. So either way, we'll see what Joseph can do as he is shuffling up here. Again, both players do have perfect information now, so Brian does know those Rest in Peace are coming in from Joseph, and Joseph can take a look over there and see those 3 Cathedral Sanctifiers and go, ugh, not really too stoked to play against those.
Yeah, although, Joseph, his sideboard, he doesn't have a lot in terms of density. He doesn't have a million cards for this matchup, obviously. But I do think he makes some pretty significant improvements because he has some pretty anemic cards in his main deck. Your Lifelink Soulballing guy and Huntmaster of the Fells are just... Those are for winning different matchups.
Yeah.
So even though he doesn't have a ton of cards to bring in here, he does get to cut a lot of garbage, and that's a big help.
Streamline his deck a little bit, make it so that it has mostly good cards in it, where, as we saw, the draw that he ended up mulliganing to 2 Searing Spears, 2 Nearhearth Pilgrims, and a Clifftop Retreat. Those are some of the worst cards in his deck in this matchup, and he found 4 of them.
Yeah, and I mentioned that he may want the one Fiend Hunter for, Fiend Hunter Wars. It's possible he has 2 copies of Oblivion Ring. He may want those instead because you can't Fiend Hunter. He can't Fiend Hunter the Oblivion Ring back, I guess.
Sure.
But it all feels roughly the same, and Fiend Hunter being a human matters for other cards.
Yeah.
Being a creature matters for other cards.
Yep.
So I don't know how much of that effect that he wants because it's fairly narrow, but I do feel like Huntmaster and Pilgrim are just so mopey that I'd rather have the upside of wrecking Fiend Hunter, because Fiend Hunter is basically Brian's best card against you, than having a threat that's just not that good.
Sure. Makes sense to me. So you do see both players shuffling up here. Game 2 will be underway shortly for you guys. I still think, obviously this is a matchup that I do think that favors Brian, a good amount. But it's certainly not impossible, where we saw other matchups that were quite tough for Brian's opponents to win.
Right.
With the token matchup, for example, I'm trying to think of what world the quarterfinal matchup that Brian could have lost.
Yeah, it basically requires a draw that fails.
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to lose, and I believe those are 2 lands and a Thalia. It looks like got something to work with here.
Yeah, there's a white card in there. As you do see a Searing Spear in the front, Cavalry Souls in the back. He's happy. Brian is not. So Brian's gonna take a mulligan.
Oh, don't go rabbit holing, Brian.
Oh, I rabbit hole all the time. I gotta know.
I believe it.
I gotta know. Was my Kithkin deck gonna get there? I gotta know, man.
But you already know what the odds are, right?
What do you mean?
Whatever it is, whatever the top 2 or 3 cards need to be for that hand to be keepable, you already know what the odds are when you mulligan.
You're giving me way too much credit. I need to see the cards.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, I got to know.
I don't know unless I see.
Yeah,
How would I know otherwise?
Yeah, I need to look at them physically and hold them and be disappointed or very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Child at heart.
I guess.
That's all. I'm very pro rabbit holing. As long as you don't let it influence your mulligan decisions or anything, which I don't let it do.
I don't think it can have any effect but to influence your mulligan.
It doesn't, though. I just like to look.
Just want to know?
Yeah. I like to mulligan a lot, actually.
In between rounds, do you just shuffle your deck and then just look at 3 cards?
Quite a bit.
I just want to know.
I do it in the booth.
I want to know.
I do it in the booth when we're not on camera.
I just want to know what was there.
Yeah. What's my opener look like? I'm a big fan of mulliganing, so I don't mind doing it all. But sometimes get a little on edge. Those close ones, gotta know, man. Was I right or was I wrong?
Yeah.
So 6 cards here for Brian. All right, looks happy. We're underway. Temple Garden, go. See, Brian draws a Farseek for the turn, and has Sunpetal Grove is going to pass back. Is it Thalia? This is the big one. So you're going to see a Clifftop Retreat and Thalia Guardian of Thraben. All right, so there it is. Thalia is here. Going to make those spells more expensive. Brian's deck, as far as 1-mana spells are concerned, he does have Faithless Looting, but his 2-mana spells, that Farseek that he drew last turn, that Grizzly Salvage, that Mulch, are spells that he cannot cast right now. Did you see Sunpetal Grove? And you're going to see Cathedral Sanctifier.
Yep.
The human that's going to gain 3 life does play into the infinite life combo of this Human Reanimator deck. Can't even block very well right now.
And it's also just good in general for slowing the game down and giving yourself a little bit of time.
And now we see a Silverblade Paladin, and this is the kind of start that Joseph needed.
This is his good draw right here.
As now Thalia is going to be attacking for 4 points of damage. Silverblade going to be threatening 4 for the next turn because of the double strike. He's off to a good start. He also has Searing Spear into the reserve. Now he does look like he has mostly lands after that.
It looks like Searing Spear and lands is his hand.
So this may be his quote-unquote all-in. You know, obviously he does get to draw a card every turn, but this is a nice start.
Yeah.
As you take a look at Brian's hand, you see an Angel of Glory's Rise there, a Huntmaster of the Fells, has a Blood Crypt on the right edge, and on Burial Rites, a Farseek, and I believe a Grizzly Salvage is what we're looking at here. And you see exactly the kind of effect Thalia has in this matchup, bottlenecking him, because if he was able to Farseek, we got a wildly different game here.
Yeah, I think Brian just has to Farseek this turn. I mean,
and you are going to see Blood Crypt coming to play those Ravnica duels. That 2 points is going to end up mattering most likely. And it's just going to pass the turn back, so we're going to see a Grizzly Salvage, it looks like, Patrick.
I guess he's going to try to go Grizzly Salvage into Huntmaster of the Fells?
Yeah. Probably wants to load up the graveyard while he's going to try to find that land. As you do see Joseph come across here for 8 points of damage. Avacyn's Pilgrim, Searing Spear, and a bunch of lands is what Joseph's got. Stomping Ground's going to come into play untapped. We'll see him tap that Cavern. Put that out there, and he's just going to pass the turn back. You're going to see a Grizzly Salvage here from Brian. Let's see the 5 that he finds. Huntmaster of the Fells, Sunpetal Grove, Huntmaster of the Fells, Cartel Aristocrat, and Cavern of Souls. Cavern is what it's going to be, a land that does come into play on tap for his Huntmaster.
Yeah.
Brian will take a draw, draws another in Burial Rites. Clearly rather have those in the graveyard than in his hand, especially with Thalia out there.
Yeah.
Those costing 6, a big deal.
Yeah, you're saying, I don't know if Joseph's going to win this game, of course, because there's a lot of draws to go, and he's a little light on action, but you're definitely seeing the impact of Thalia in this game. I think Brian would have had no trouble winning this if his draw was able to go unmolested, but...
Now you see Joseph draw a Mare of Averbrook for the turn. Did not Searing Spear on his end step, which I thought was a little bit strange. You know, just because some of his potential draws for his next turn could have been poor there because of the Thalia. Either way, Joseph's going to play Temple Garden untapped, going to go down to 18. You're going to see the Mare of Averbrook. I think if you're Joseph, you just want to Searing Spear that Huntmaster out of the way, right? Maybe I'm wrong here?
Well, I think that, I mean, he's probably working on the assumption that there's no way that Brian blocks with the Huntmaster. So it's possible that Brian makes a bad block with the Wolf, assuming that he's going to get his Huntmaster in play for next turn. I mean, I don't think you're chump blocking with Huntmaster of the Fells here, right?
Okay.
So I would have Searing Spirit at the end of turn, particularly because you have Keswick Wolf running in your deck, so just the mana matters. But at this stage, I actually don't mind holding off until with the Searing Spirit until after combat, because there's almost certainly no way Brian's and Brian might try to like double block the Silverblade, the Paladin too.
Yeah, that's true. And you also, if you're Brian here, the trigger test to be going off in your head as well. Of my opponent keeps playing his dual lands untapped. You know, he played the Mare, he played the Temple Garden untapped so he could cast Mare. So it's pretty clear to me that he either has a Celestial Charm or a Searing Spear.
Yeah.
You know, that information is being given away there by doing that. As you do see, the Wool Token get in front of the Silverblade Paladin. Damage is going to resolve. Life totals will be changed for you guys. And Brian going to take a draw step.
And Brian might, again, this is another reason I like Joseph's play at this point. Brian might say go.
Yeah, try to pick off that.
Yeah, Mare. And then the game just ends.
It looks like that's what he's done. And you're going to take care of that here.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's just going to see. Yep. Okay. Makes sense.
It's a good line.
So Joseph Herrera is going to be able to tie this game up back off the back of, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Brian Braun Duin will be on the play for Game 3.
Yeah, I feel like I probably would have Searing Spirit at the end of the turn there. Just because you have so many draws in your deck that are are much more efficient, especially Keswick Wolf Run.
Okay.
But once you've untapped there, I think there's so many ways that you can potentially jam Brian by not Searing Spearing right away, which is you could blow him out in combat if he tries to double block, and you can also blow him out if he tries to say go, and then you just get to tag his Huntmaster.
Sure. That's the kind of game that Joseph needed.
Right. Oh, I mean, his start was excellent, and he actually didn't have a ton to follow up with.
Yep.
You know, he had a Searing Spear, he had a Mayor a couple turns down the line, but he didn't. It wasn't like he had Restoration Angel or, you know, something else huge to follow everything up with. He just had those 2 cards, and on the play that was good.
And you can see all the difference that Thalia makes on the play, you know, in this matchup. You know, it's perfectly fine on the draw. It's not great. But it's not terrible. But when it's on the play on turn 2, it shifts the matchup dramatically.
I mean, if that card's not in play, then you see Brian go turn 2 Farseek, turn 3 Huntmaster, and then start just Burial Righting his Huntmaster over and over again, and eventually get to Angel. That's probably how that game plays out. Instead, he's just struggling to keep his head above water. He can't play most of his hand, and he dies with 6 cards in his hand.
Yep.
You know. And it's not like his draw. I mean, he made his first 4 land drops. He just couldn't get anything going. A big difference.
Huge difference. Huge difference. We'll see if Joseph can put it together again this game. He is going to need, I think, for this particular game, Patrick, I think he is going to need one of his 1-drops.
Yeah.
I think he's going to need Pilgrim or Champion. And again, just get the ball rolling right away.
Yeah. I mean, even the problem is, you know, Thalia is still quite good on the draw, assuming Brian doesn't have Farseek on turn 2. Sure. If he's all Grizzly Salvaging and Mulching and Faithless Looting, Thalia is still excellent. But Farseek changes the dynamic potentially quite a bit. So game 3 of our finals here.
It's almost champion time.
And this is a significant game right here, because whoever wins this is going to get a lot of visibility. This archetype, whichever one, is going to get a lot of visibility, and that's really, I think, going to do a lot to sculpt the metagame early on.
Yeah.
You know, even though both of these decks have certainly proven to be legitimate choices, it's just the way these things work.
Yeah.
The person who's holding the trophy, the deck that's getting the most publicity, is just the winner. That's just how it goes. And with the metagame fresh and people looking for direction on what kind of decks they're supposed to be building, the outcome of this game is probably going to dictate what you're seeing at F&M for the next couple weeks. You know,
absolutely, for Edison next weekend as well.
Absolutely. I'm a little sad I'm not going.
Well,
I was thinking about defending my standard crown.
Hey, I don't take a break. I'll be there doing coverage with Zach Hall next weekend. So if you guys are out there in the Edison, New Jersey area or surrounding cities, I'll be there. I'm gonna take a quick flight back to Seattle, get some work done, and then head back out.
There are no surrounding cities. Edison's not really near. It's kind of close to New York.
I guess I'll find out. I'll find out firsthand next week. I've never been before. Kind of excited to go though.
All right. Well, I recommend the Pizzeria Uno on Route 1.
Oh wow, that sounds great.
If you're looking for fine dining. You're looking for fine dining.
Yeah, national landmark. That Pizzeria Uno.
Yeah.
We're back in the booth here very quickly, as it looks like Joseph's going to use the bathroom real quick. Nervous.
Yeah.
Scary. So obviously, Edison, you're defending champion or no?
The last time that there was an Open in Edison, and I won the Standard Open 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I don't know if I didn't go to that tournament, which I went to randomly, and then if I didn't win that tournament, which I did even more randomly.
Okay.
I don't think it's possible I'm not doing this right now.
Oh wow.
You know, it's like that sort of reinvigorated me getting back into Magic to some extent. I'd been in a lull with it.
Lucky us.
I think, you know, sometimes I think, what happens if, you know, in round 6 in game 3 I mulligan 5 and lose? Like, is my life actually considerably different now? You know, it's kind of funny. But with all the traveling, you know, I'm doing this weekend. I'm going to Charlotte.
Yep.
You know, I have work related. I'm going to PAX East for work in March.
Okay.
I just can't do it every weekend just for my own health and sanity. So Edison was the trip that had to get skipped, but I am sad about it, because when I saw it on the schedule, I really wanted to go back and defend the title. But with Star City having events in Somerset, both in Open and Invitational,
Sure.
I'll get my,
Your jersey fix.
it's like my yellow sun, you know what I mean? I need to get reinvigorated with every now and again, but it will be sad to not be in Edison next weekend. That's the site, Star City Games Open that I won. It's the first PTQ that I won in 2001. It's as far as Magic goes, a pretty significant place for me. So it'll be sad not to be there, but there's only so much of this I can do.
Hey, well, we'll try to hold it down for you. Zach Hall will be in the chair with me next weekend in Edison, New Jersey. Likely to be a pretty big tournament.
Yeah.
Should be a nice turnout and everything. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Some people are wondering at home on Twitter, the old Twitter sphere, how the combo works for the Human Reanimator deck. And so, brief explanation for you guys. Brian's going to reanimate a Angel of Glory's Rise. Going to bring back all the humans. The humans that it's going to bring back that are important are Cartel Aristocrat and Fiend Hunter.
Yes.
And then it can be anything else with it, be it Cathedral Sanctifier, be it a Huntmaster of the Fells. You can even get a little fancy and have it be a Zealous Conscripts. Well, what's going to happen is, he is going to, once the Angel comes back, he's going to target the Angel with the Fiend Hunter. With that effect on the stack, he's going to sacrifice the Aristocrat. Now, the way the Fiend Hunter stack works is, the first effect goes in the stack of, target a creature, remove it, and the second one goes in the stack of return the creature. Okay?
Right.
So, what's going to end up happening is, he's going to let the first one resolve. He's going to remove the creature and, clear the stack, and then what's going to end up happening is he's going to sacrifice the Aristocrat, sacrifice the Fiend Hunter to the Aristocrat. Angel of Glory's Rise is going to come back because it was removed from the Fiend Hunter. And so then the Angel of Glory's Rise comes back, and the Fiend Hunter's in the graveyard. So the Fiend Hunter comes back, removes the Angel of Glory's Rise, you sacrifice it again, and you can repeat this loop. What you need to do while you're repeating this loop is you need something cool with a come into play ability that's a human to come back with. Now, Cathedral Sanctifier conveniently gains 3 life. So if you're demonstrating the loop, you're just going to keep gaining 3 life an infinite number of times. If you do it with Huntmaster of the Fells, you're going to make infinite wolves. If you do it with Zealous Conscripts, you're going to have all the permanents.
Right.
So that's exactly how the combo works. And what's interesting right now in Standard is that, for the most part, there isn't really a deck that can beat infinite life. That's almost impossible for a deck to do outside of like an Nephalia Drown Yard deck. And there aren't a lot of decks that can beat infinite tokens.
Right.
So that's what Brian's been cleaning up with this weekend, and same with Brad Nelson.
Yeah, historically, unlimited amounts of things are challenging to beat. You need to be able to go over the top with your own combo. No deck in Standard can really do that. So.
So that is the combo that you've seen Brian kind of demonstrate through hand motions this weekend, and when we had Brad on, you see them talking to their opponents about, okay, here's what's going to happen, here's what I'm going to do, and then they do it, and the opponent goes, oh, okay, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Let's play again.
All right, game 3 of the finals underway. Brian on the play with the Temple Garden, Joseph with a Stomping Ground.
Ooh, no turn 2 player from Brian.
No Far Seek, so Thalia could be very good here.
Do we have it? Clifftop Retreat, and there's your Thalia. Does Brian have a Grizzly Salvage? Yes,
Okay.
he does. Okay. All right.
All right, so Joseph was able to dodge the Far Seek and has Thalia.
You do see a Grizzly Salvage here with 2 Faithless Looting and a Burial Rites, another Grizzly Salvage, and a Huntmaster of the Fells, of which Brian is going to select the Huntmaster to his hand.
You can only take Huntmaster, I believe.
You're correct. Actually, they are all spells. You are correct. So a pretty good Grizzly Salvage, all things considered, as he does have 3 flashback cards. But again...
And those 5 draw sets would have been disastrous.
Yeah. But again, with Thalia in the graveyard, Faithless Looting is going to cost a lot more mana. And a Burial Rites is going to cost 5. And his graveyard isn't really stock full of anything.
And Brian appears to be without red mana.
Yeah.
He could be sandbagging, but...
Yeah. You are going to see Brian cast a Cartel Aristocrat.
Bang.
Can't even cast Fiend Hunter right now, so he only has a single white mana off that Temple Garden.
Right.
So you see a Searing Spear drawn for Joseph this turn. Let's see if he has a Civil Paladin to go with this again, as he did in the previous game.
It looks like he has a medic and a champion.
We're going to start first with Thalia, Guardian of Dream, coming in for 2. Of course, Cartel Aristocrat cannot block the first striker. You see Champion of the Parish here. You're going to see a second Champion of the Parish, it looks like. Yep, that's what
Pretty explosive start here for Joseph.
The cards you do see in his hand right now are a Restoration Angel. You see that Oblivion Ring, a card you thought he might bring in, a Frontline Medic, and a Searing Spear. Brian is under the gun. Thalia's making things more difficult, so let's see what he can do here.
I mean, he's missing colors.
Yep.
He can't cast Huntmaster. He can't flashback his Faithless Looting.
As you do see a Cathedral Sanctifier here for Brian, going to bring him up to 21. Joseph quickly untaps, feeling pretty good about himself, and it's hard not to, as he does draw a Clifftop Retreat that's going to come into play untapped here. see if he's going to play a human here pre-combat. He does have a frontline medic. He also has that Oblivion ring there that he can play before combat. You see him tapping and untapping his lands, figuring out how he wants to go about taking this turn.
I like getting the medic online here, I think.
Yeah, I think personally I would want more beatdowns, and he is going to come out with the frontline medic. 2 triggers here from the champions. You're going to see a 3/3 champion of the parish and a 2/2 now. Now he does have to be a little careful how he wants to attack, just because Cathedral Sanctifier can have protection from white by sacrificing to the Cartel Aristocrat. But you are seeing him just going to send in with the 3/3 champion.
Yeah, this is a conservative attack. He's not willing to trade anything. Again, because the medic next turn will just make Alpha Striking a free roll.
Yep.
There's no reason to allow Brian to trade.
Yep.
If Brian wants a chump block here, that's fine.
Sure.
If Brian wants a double block here, that's fine, but there's no reason to let him get any value beyond that.
Brian takes a draw step. It does not look like a relevant land.
He's got a bunch of Hunt Masters in his hand.
You see a bunch of Hunt Masters. You see another Cartel Aristocrat and just passing the turn back. So does not have the necessary red mana to flashback Faithless Looting or cast the Hunt Master of the Fells in his hand. Zealous Conscripts the draw here for Joseph this turn.
Yeah, not great against the Aristocrats, but...
And now you do see the attack with all of the creatures here. Does trigger the battalion on frontline medic, so his creatures are going to be indestructible. Brian can block as he chooses, but again, nothing is going to die on Joseph's side.
So you're going to see what I assume here is a double block, and then preserving the Aristocrat with the chump blocker.
You see both players kind of fidgeting, saying, I'm passing priority, I'm passing priority.
Yeah, this is all fine.
Yep.
All well and good.
So now we're going to see a Restoration Angel here.
I think this is just to get an extra counter on the... I think this play is slightly more aggressive than I like, just because this is shields down against Fiend Hunter.
Sure.
But he is pretty far ahead on the board, so it may be worth the extra point. He might not care that much about Fiend Hunter.
As you did see, the
there's
Restoration Angel blink the frontline medic to make the champions bigger.
And Brian's just drawn an uncastable
Unburial
Rites. Yeah.
Yep. A hand of Unburial Rites, multiple Hunt Master of the Fells, and Angel of Glory's Rise. But again, this is part of playing a deck like this, Patrick. All these colors of mana. It's kind of rare because he does have Faithless Looting and Mulch and Grizzly Salvage. But again, it can happen.
Yeah. And certainly the Naya Humans deck is pretty unforgiving.
Yep. And Joseph attacking with everyone again, triggering the battalion on frontline medic. You see Brian going, all right, I guess I'm just chump blocking, save one of my aristocrats, take a bunch to the face, Searing Spear, going to take care of the other aristocrat here. Brian is boardless, taking a lot of damage, and Mr. Sullivan,
we're close.
I think we are close to crowning a champion. Brian going to take another draw step, draws a Stomping Grounds. Ravnica Duels, as good as they are not free. This will bring him down to 3.
I mean, the key point here was that turn 3 Grizzly Salvage just...
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. Joseph Herrera is your Star City Games Open Series Standard Champion.
Wow.
Naya Humans,
awesome.
No losses on the weekend.